Yeah, welcome.
Let me actually turn the hold on one second. Let me turn the
Yeah,
lights up just a little bit in here. It's like a little
yeah,
dark
yeah.
in here.
Yeah, you're all good.
All right, we're back.
Yeah. I appreciate you doing this, taking a little bit of time
Yeah,
out.
thanks for having me.
You're busy, and whatnot. First time doing this. Been through a little bit. Uh, and kind of introduce yourself, just briefly. However you want to do that.
Yeah, so my name is Joe Chiarte Jr. You and I served together at my very first duty station after basic training. 4th Brigade, 10th Mountain Division, deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq together. And after that second deployment, I changed duty stations to Fort Lewis, Washington, got deployed back to Afghanistan. At that point, I was almost 10 years in the military and thought, I'm halfway to retirement. I may as
Yeah,
well stay in.
yeah, yeah.
So my first 10 years in the military were train, deploy to Afghanistan, train, deploy to Iraq, train, deploy to Afghanistan. And my last 10 years were smooth sailing. It was 3 years in Belgium, followed by 3 years in Hawaii, where I met my wife, and we did
Yeah.
5.5 years in Germany, where I retired out of at 20 years. Yeah, so it
Yeah.
was it was
That's
a rough
awesome.
first 10 years and a smooth last 10 years.
Yeah. Right. So that kind of what does life look like right now? You already sort of answered that, but now that you're settled and on the other side of it, what does life look like, and what matters most to you these days?
Yeah, so both of our kids were born in Germany when we were there for 5.5 years. And I retired at the end of 2024 after 20 years. And 2 months after I retired, I was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer called glioblastoma. And the original doctor, who I have a story for you. The original doctor who diagnosed me with glioblastoma gave me 11 to 16 months to live. And I was like, oh my God, I was 38 years old, healthy, with a 1 and a 3 year old. We have our whole lives ahead of us. We're planning what our next, career move is going to be in the civilian world. And I just got told that I have around, a year left to live. And I was, my wife and I were just in tears. We were taken completely aback. And, my mother in law flew out from Michigan, right away. And she goes, we need a second opinion about this. So we started Googling glioblastoma and treatment centers. And it turns out we were at a hospital called Mills Peninsula, which is close to San Francisco. But the doctor who gave me this diagnosis was an oncologist. So he was a he was a brain surgeon, but he was a neurosurgeon, but he had nothing to do with cancer specifically,
Right.
right? He wasn't an oncologist in any way.
Yeah,
And
that
so
wasn't a
I don't
specialty.
so it turns out that, after, Googling, we found out that UCSF, UC San Francisco Health Center, which is only 20 minutes down the road from our house, is one of the top three brain cancer facilities in the world. Meaning, after diagnosis of glioblastoma, they are a top three facility in the world of keeping people alive the longest with the best quality of life. So we went to them for a second opinion, and they said your prognosis, given your age, your health is in depending on there's a couple different variants of this type
Yeah.
of brain tumor, but you're probably looking at about 3 to 5 years left to live. And 3 to 5 years left to live doesn't sound great, but it sounds a whole lot better than 11 to 16 months.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
For
I
sure.
don't know if that first doctor found his medical degree in a Cracker Jack box or just Wikipedia
Mm.
glioblastoma and gave me whatever popped up.
Chat
But
GPT'd it.
yeah, just but I'm glad we sought a second opinion, and so we are now getting, luckily, the PACT Act, which Congress passed in 2022 and President Biden signed into law, made many. I think it was like over 20 different types of cancers, which glioblastoma, brain cancer, is one of them.
Yeah.
Presumed conditions of burn pit exposure, and you didn't have to prove anything with medical records. If your DD Form 214 shows a deployment to Afghanistan or Iraq, and then you developed, any number of 20 different types of cancer, they just assume it was due to burn pit exposure. And the VA labeled me 100% disabled. And the VA said, hey, look, we don't have any neuro-oncologists, brain cancer doctors anywhere near you. So they basically said, You go get seen at UCSF and you have a blank check, whether it's for medications, for MRIs, for surgeries, for whatever you need. Like UCSF treats me and then just bills the VA, and the VA pays them whatever. So
Yeah.
long as it's connected to the brain cancer, it's 100% covered under the community care referrals from the VA. So that was nice. And so,
Yeah.
my doctor said something that my neuro-oncologist said something that kind of stuck with me. He goes, "You got the worst possible diagnosis, but in the best possible location, because you are 20 minutes down the road from a top brain treatment facility in the world." And so,
Yeah.
what life looks like nowadays is I have a 2 and a 4 year old. I'm married to an amazing, beautiful wife. I joined my local American Legion, where I was honored to be voted in as the vice commander of the Legion.
Very good.
And it's very strange because my brain cancer causes occasional seizures, which every time I have a seizure, whether it's like a small one called a focal seizure, where one particular part of your brain starts, sending a little bit of haywire electrical signals, and that's usually when you see somebody involuntarily twitching a certain part of their body,
Yeah.
all the way up to what they call nowadays. I always find this term funny, but they call it a tonic-clonic, and that is where instead of a focal seizure, where one part of your brain has electrical signals going haywire, sending a million different electrical, telling one part of your body to do a million things per second.
Right.
A tonic-clonic is where that spreads throughout your whole brain, and your whole brain is giving a million mixed electrical signals to every muscle in your body per second. That's when you see people on the ground convulsing.
Yeah.
So, but no matter how big or small your seizure is, every time you have one, you get put on a 6-month no driving ban. So I have not driven a car in over 8 months now because I have a seizure, usually like the small focal seizures every few months.
Yeah.
But other than that, I feel pretty normal. Like, I don't feel like I have a terminal illness or that I'm dying. You
Yeah.
know, I'm a full-time college student. I'm the vice commander of my American Legion. I'm a husband, a father of 2 preschoolers. Life does look a little different nowadays, but I don't know, like for much of the day, I feel like a perfectly normal guy. But, my doctor did recently give us an update because we asked him, like, hey, you told us 3 to 5 years, and that was 2 years ago. A lot's happened since then. A year after they went in and took out, I don't know if you can see the scar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So about a year after they went in and took my tumor out, it was about the size of a golf ball right over my right ear. And I did chemo and radiation. And about almost a year exactly later, it started regrowing. And so they went in using the exact same mark. She's like, I'm not going to make any new marks on your head because it's growing back in the exact same location that it grew the first time. So they went in and took out the tumor again. That was this last December. And what is it now? April? So about 4 months ago, they did another brain surgery, took out the regrowth, and put me on a stronger form of chemo because if the tumor regrew on the weaker form of chemo, that means it's now resistant and we need to step up our game. And, that new form of chemo can really take it out of you because chemo attacks everything, good and bad. And so your body is just in constant repair mode, trying to repair the damage that the chemo is doing to your body, which exhausts your body.
Oh man, I can imagine.
But yeah, but they showed me a brain scan, MRI, and after 2 brain surgeries in the exact same location, I'm now missing because brain doesn't regrow. Once you take out a chunk, it fills in with spinal fluid, and then it's just in a hole where there used to be brain tissue.
Right.
And well, used to be a tumor. So they take out the tumor and a little bit of healthy brain that surrounded the tumor because the tumor sends cells out to grow into healthy brain tissue. It's called a super resection. And I looked at the MRI and I'm now missing roughly about 10% of my brain. And even with 10% of my brain missing, I'm not dumb enough to be a Seahawks fan. So, I mean, imagine how much brain damage you have to be a Seattle Seahawks fan.
Yeah. Right. That's good
I'm
stuff.
still Niners all the way, baby.
Right. I wonder when that would come up. Yeah, man. So what, in all that, what have you stopped worrying about stuff that you would have worried about before? You know?
I kind of take this approach that, like, I don't know. My wife and I were just talking about this. Some people have what they call scanxiety. About every 3 months, people with brain cancer get, and myself included, get an MRI brain scan to see if the tumor is growing, shrinking. Is it, how's it looking? And some people, they get really, really worried leading up to their scan. What's it going to look like? Is it going to, understandably. Me, I'm kind of like, it is what it is. It can't be what it isn't. I don't know. It's like nothing that, like, just yesterday I had an MRI today actually, and the doctor will call me on Monday and let me know what the results is, because they'll show me the report, but the report is just a bunch of gibberish to me. It's medical terminology that I don't understand anyways. So my doctor will call me on Monday, but I mean, whatever it is now, I can't change it. So I'll just wait for the results, and then we'll go from there.
It sounds the only way to stay sane in that situation is just focus on what you can control.
Yep.
You know, what do you feel like more present with some sort? I mean, we all have limited time, right? You know what I mean? But like someone giving you that, estimation of 3 to 5 years, and then you're 2 years in. Like, do you feel like that you're more present for things before, after the diagnosis than before?
I try to be. My wife has actually been a lot better at that than I have. So she bought all these cards for milestones that I likely won't be around for. Oh, I never did finish this part of the story. This happens a lot after 2 brain surgeries. I'll get halfway through a sentence and forget why I started that story.
I don't have any
So
brain
we
surgery.
recently asked my doctor, like, hey, I was diagnosed 2.5 years ago, and you said my prognosis was 3 to 5 years, but I've had a second brain surgery since then. We've switched chemo. I've been on one clinical trial with another one in the works right now. Like, what is an updated prognosis? And he said, okay, I'm going to give you a prognosis, but keep in mind that when I give you this number, this is an average. So some people live shorter than this, some people live a lot longer than this. And also, I have given people prognoses of, like, let's say 1 to 2 years. And within that 1 to 2 years, new medicines come out, new procedures come out, so don't take this to the bank. This is just, if nothing changes, if there's no new medicines, and if there's no new procedures, there's no new anything between now and the end of this prognosis, then this is probably what you're looking at. But a lot can change, especially, I mean, AI is revolutionizing things at a speed that was unheard of, unthinkable just 10 years ago. So he said your updated prognosis could be as little as 6 months. I'm sorry, as little as 9 months, or as much as 2 years. But he said we're not at Hail Mary time yet, but we're getting to the 2 minute warning. He knows how much I love football and my football references.
Yeah.
And so, but I still don't feel like I'm dying. And I told him, I said, I really respect you. I know you have, I'm sure, decades of experience in this field. And I'm sure you got more degrees than a thermometer. But I'm telling you right now, old Joey Q ain't going nowhere till the Niners win a Super Bowl. You can take that to the bank. Take that to your board of experts, and you let them know you're gonna have to rewrite some medical textbooks after old Joey Q's case is over, because this case, like this guy just will not die. And I'm like, the way the Niners have been playing, like, or at least how injured we get every single season. I was like, I got a pretty good prognosis if I ain't going nowhere till they win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, right. I That's awesome. What have you think that you've like? Is there things you used to like bullshit that would bother you that doesn't bother you anymore, or shit you've let go of that doesn't get to you that uh, you know?
I'll be honest with you, I thought that was going to happen to me, but no, not really.
Sure.
Like after two brain surgeries and some brain missing, I have short-term memory issues, and my wife has noticed personality changes, little personality changes here and there. I'm a little bit more short-tempered than I used to be on certain issues, but by and large, I'm still, you know, joking, easygoing, happy-go-lucky Joe. But there are times when I try to be intentional about making memories with my kids. Like we do swim. I have a 2 and a 4 year old, and we do swim practice for the kids every Tuesday and Thursday, and children's Bible study every Wednesday. And I try to go to as many of those as I possibly can, even when I'm tired. But there are some nights when I'm just like, especially after my first chemo dose of this new stronger chemo they put me on. There were some nights when I'm just like, babe, I just don't have it in me tonight. And then I sit there and think about it, and I'm like, man, I kind of feel like a shitty dad, like, because, like, I don't know, like, I want to make, I probably have limited time to make these types of memories with my kids, but at the same time, like, I'm just exhausted some nights, and so I try to fight through it as much as I can. Plus, the pool that they go to is cold as heck. So sometimes only one of the kids, our 2 year old, has to have a parent in the pool with them. Our
Right.
4 year old, a parent just needs to watch, well, because he has the lifeguard in the pool, and he at least knows enough to hold on to the side and kick off the wall and how to this that. So only one parent needs to get in the pool, and even though it's more work for the parent that needs to get in the pool, that cold water wakes me right up. So sometimes I just volunteer to be the parent to get in the pool just to wake me up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Get that cold water. That's like a big sensory reset too, nervous system stuff. So if you're doing like body regulation, you're like real elevated, or you just kind of need like a system reset, just getting your body cold.
Oh, but to continue a thought from earlier though, my wife found this really she found this really cool idea from a lady who's in a support group, like a cancer caregivers support group that my wife is in. And this lady is like, hey, my husband is probably not going to be around for our kid. They had kids that were young like ours, and like my husband is probably not going to be around for a lot of our children's milestones as they grow up. So she bought cards for happy 5th birthday, happy 10th birthday, happy 16th birthday, 18th, 20th, 25th, like milestone birthdays. Happy wedding day, happy congratulations on buying your first house, which if they stay in California, they ain't going to. All right, let me tell you about home prices in the Bay Area. Holy moly. But, all these milestones and congratulations on graduating high school, congratulations on your college degree, and it's something that I wouldn't have thought about myself, but I love the idea. But it's I loved the idea at first, and then I opened up that first card, and the tears just started pouring, man. Like, I was writing my 1 year old daughter a congratulations on your wedding day card, and it's like, I didn't know whether to write the card like I was talking to a 30-year-old or like I was talking to my 1 year old daughter. Like, great, congratulations, Deli Belly, like, or
Right. Yeah.
dear Stella, congratulations, sweetheart.
Yeah.
From Dad. Do I make it, short and sweet? Do I make it heartfelt and sincere with lots of advice? I didn't, it sounded like a really good idea, and then I opened up that first card and I had no idea what to write. And what do I write to my son? I want to give him so much advice on how to be a respectable and respected, a respectful and respected man. And I had planned to teach him lessons throughout his life that I now have to do through cards and letters. So how do you teach your son how to be a man through birthday cards and letters? And it's just basically a mix of congratulations on graduating high school, and also, try to follow these rules on, how to be a good contributor to society, how to be a good man, how to respect women, and, congratulations on your first job was another one of the cards for both kids. And I want to teach them all the lessons that I learned, mostly by being late to formation in the army for a long time and getting punished for it. How to be, how to build a good reputation. Good reputations are hard to gain and easy to lose. And the best way to build a good reputation, or the easiest way to do it, is show up early. That's the easiest way to do it. Step one. And then learn your job so well, so in detail, that you can teach it to somebody else. you know? And then I ran out of room on the card, and I'm like, oh God, I had like 5 more things to tell them, you know?
Right.
And, but yeah,
Did you get?
sorry,
Did
I'm
you
just
get?
yapping. I
No.
yap a lot.
You what?
I said I yap a lot. If
Oh
I'll
no,
just,
man, no. You're. That's the point of I'm glad that you're doing that. Did you when you just get to the end of the card? Is that it, or did you get another card, or just kind of cut yourself off after the
no, my wife ordered
like that same
like
thought
20
for?
cards per kid, each for a different, like all those milestones that I mentioned. She ordered
Yeah,
one for each child: the
sure.
birthdays, the weddings, the oh, congratulations on becoming a mom, congratulations on becoming a dad, all these milestones. And so I was having problems even figuring out, like, it would take me 2 days to write one card, and I have so many cards to write. And so we talked to a counselor, and the counselor's like, here's an easy idea on how to start. Start every single card with, congratulations, I love you, and I wish I can be there with you today.
Yeah,
Period. And then go from there. And that was the best advice that I've gotten on cards,
yeah.
because I
Anchor.
can continue on with whatever the subject of the card is after that. I just, once I get that first line, so every card is going to
Yeah,
start with, congratulations, I love you, and I wish I can be there with you today.
yeah. I mean, I'm glad you're able to do that, and that's also heavy, of course. So in all of that, two last things in there. In all of that, I don't. You would probably kick back if you said you were strong or something like that. And I know we're not talking like, I mean, physically, yeah, you had to fight and everything like that. But is there any kind of spiritual practice or spiritual backing to the I don't know the surviving it,
So
staying
yeah,
strong?
so my family, we're Christian, and that has definitely helped us see us, especially the Book of Job. My wife and I actually, my wife helped me in one of my classes right now is philosophy of religion, and we had to write a 5-page essay on the Book of Job. And the Book of Job is, I mean, if you read it, it's just seemingly bad things happening to it. God seemingly punishing somebody who was faithful and a good person, and it's him openly wondering, why am I being punished? Why is his family died, his flock died, he lost all of his riches and his family. And he was like, I'm such a faithful servant to you, Lord. Why are you taking all these things from me? He didn't understand why God was punishing him the way he did. But he stayed faithful through it all. He stayed faithful. He never lost his faith, even though he lost his flock, his family, and he was a wealthy man before. For anybody who is a practicing Christian or who knows about the Book of Job, and I just kind of keep falling back to that, because the whole point of the book is, lean not on your own understanding of God's plan for you, but just
Mm.
place your faith in the Lord and continue to be faithful. And so, I mean, why do I have brain cancer? I don't know. Why does my wife have to be a caregiver to a cancer patient with short-term memory issues, and why does she have to organize my pill case and do most of the tracking the medical appointments and scheduling activities for the kids and all that? I don't know. I don't know. But I am not going to let hard circumstances, lose my faith in God or His plan for me or my family. So we're going to continue to stay faithful, and we're going to raise our kids as Christians. And the other thing that has helped me going is just, being a soldier. I mean, if I can make it 20 years in the Army, to include 2 Afghan deployments and an Iraq deployment, I feel like that has toughened me up to the point where I'm just like, brain cancer, huh? I'm like, terminal brain cancer is nothing. I had to eat Afghan food for like a week straight, and there are no sanitary standards there. Holy
Oh
moly, we were
man,
sick of that.
yeah,
I
I
have
bet.
have survived multiple IEDs, roadside bombs, plenty of firefights over the course of 3 deployments. I was like, I'm going to survive as long as humanly possible. And you know what? My doctor's like, mindset is a huge part of, survival rates when it comes
Yeah.
to, cancer patients. And he goes, you have the right attitude. Even your joke about not dying until the Niners win a Super Bowl. And I was like, oh no, that wasn't a joke. I'm not going I'm not going anywhere until we always that Lombardi trophy. But yeah, I mean, between my army experience and being a soldier for 20 years and being a practicing Christian, I I feel like both of those have helped us, navigate our way through what would and what does really, what's the word I'm looking for? Dishearten a lot of people and make them question a lot of things,
Yeah.
And I just try to bring that same army grit and strength and that same faithfulness from my faith in the Lord to this diagnosis. So I'm going to be the best father I can, the best husband that I can, and the best brother I can until my bones collapse, until I physically can't walk. My wife asked me the other day, college takes a toll on me. Sometimes I come home from college and I am exhausted. I can barely keep my eyes open. And other days I come home wide awake.
Sure.
But she asked me, she was like, "Do you think you can keep going to college? But like, that BAH money, that housing stipend that we get paid for being a full-time college student in San Francisco is over
Yeah.
$5,000 a month. That's
Wow.
the rent right there. So I can't drive. I can't have a job because I can't drive, anywhere. So going to college full time is how I contribute to my family. That is essentially my job right there. And so she goes, you could stop college at any time if you don't think that you can, if it's not good for your health. Like, how long do you want to do this college thing? I go, until I collapse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how long? How long? Like, I mean, it kind of reminded me of, well, how long are you going to be on this foot patrol with your guys and, defend your guys against the Taliban if they're under attack until I collapse?
Yeah.
How long are you going to fight until you physically can't hold that rifle any longer? And so that's what I mean when I say, like, I would never, leave you guys out there in the middle of a firefight, and I'm not going to leave my family without the money they need until I physically can no longer provide for my family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's the mindset I take to it.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. Last thing to wrap it up, and it's kind of broad, but what does being alive mean to you? Is it different this side of things?
Wow, that's a good question. That's a
Yeah,
thinker right there.
yeah, my bad. If I went, yeah, I had on here for being
No,
awake.
no, no. It's a great question. It's something that I just have to think about for a second. What does being alive mean to me? And now
Yeah,
I think since I've had kids, that's changed the equation because what being alive to me nowadays means being the best husband and father that I can be. Um, because my wife deserves a good husband to the best of my ability, to the best of my medical abilities nowadays,
yeah,
and my kids deserve a good father to the best of my abilities nowadays. And like I told you before, until I collapse, I will do both of those things. Until I physically cannot do those two things anymore, and I will try my best to make memories and provide for my family and help them in any way that I can until I physically can't anymore. And so, what does being alive mean to me nowadays? It means just, being the best version of me that I can be for as long as the Lord allows me to be.
that's awesome, man. Well, it's about the time and whatnot for what I asked you for. Thanks, man, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for inviting me. It was an honor, brother.